Hi, I'm Abby Combs, and I'm a 16-year-old sophomore living with type 1 diabetes. I wanted to make this video because I feel like I don't really talk about my life with type 1 diabetes that much, and that people really don't understand what it's like, and that the 8th grade health unit doesn't do it justice. So I wanted to go over some of the common treatments for T1D. And these are the two that I use. I use the CGM, continuous glucose monitor, and just a good old meter. But a lot of people use pumps, which usually attach under their stomach about like this big, and it checks and monitors for them. So the CGM is basically two or three parts. It has a sensor that comes inside here. This is a used one. And a transmitter that comes separately and is about this big. And so pretty much the sensor will have a needle about this long that will poke into my skin. Usually I'll do it on my arm, about right here, just kind of out of the way, or on my leg, about on the outside of my leg. But that's usually during the summer when I don't wear pants. And then there will be a little patch on my arm, and then I'll put the transmitter in there, and then it'll be checking for me, and it'll send to this device where I can look on and connect to my phone to see what my blood sugar is at that moment. With the CGM, I do still have to give myself insulin, and there are two forms of insulin. Humalog, which is, I use a Humalog pen, like this, or Lantus, which I use a bottle, but it also comes in pens. And so I use Humalog for throughout the day stuff to get my blood sugar to be in the mid-range. And if I do too much of this, I'll go low. If I don't do enough, I'll go high. And then Lantus is kind of the insulin that regulates throughout the whole day. So I'll give myself 21 in the morning and 21 at night to make sure I don't go high. So I can actually give myself Lantus right now. So I use these needles, and so I open it, measure out, or put the air in, measure out a little above the 21, then push in to meet the 21. Then flick it to get any air bubbles out. And then usually I'll do it in my leg, but I can do it in my arm. And then it's just a little prick. And then, yeah, sometimes I'll bleed a little, but it's fine. So I also wanted to show my process for actually checking myself. So first I'll get a cotton swab and clean off a finger, and then I will get some one-touch test strips, open that. The test strips look like this, but there are different versions. And then I'll get my meter, and I use one touch. I'll put my in there, and then it'll light up and it's ready. So then I'll get my poker, and I gotta draw it back, and then get my finger ready, press on there, and then squeeze until it draws blood. Once I get enough blood, I'm gonna level it up to where the line is on my meter. It's gonna draw some blood, and then it's gonna count down. Then I'm 180, so that's in the green, so that's pretty good for me. If it goes in the red, it's too high. If it's in the blue, it's too low. So green, 180 is decent. So I wanted to ask some family members a few questions about how their life has been impacted because of T1D, and I think a lot of people would better understand it from their point of view as well as my point of view.
I would say it's no different, except for you have to manage the diabetes, and it's not a cure, but it's something you have to think about almost every hour.
It's kind of scary. You're always just kind of wondering, especially when you're the one that's taking care of her. It's a lot of pressure to make sure you're trying to do the right thing.
As a mom, I worry. As she grows up, I have to give her the power and the control to do it, which makes mom worry even more, but I know she's responsible and she can do it if I train her right and that she takes responsibility of it.
Only if I'm actually the caregiver. If she's, then I'm personally responsible for her numbers, keeping track of her.
I try to take some of the burden off of you, or my daughter, because she has to deal with it 24/7, and when she moves out, she will have to deal with it 24/7 on her own. So she knows what to do, but I try to take the burden off when she's home. And I will do checks and give her her insulin and calculate things, even though she can.
I try to have her check herself as often as she should. I try to make sure we give the right amount of insulin for what she's eating, and try to check that maybe she's not just eating something and not giving insulin that I don't know about.
My worry is more that we don't know. Usually there's complications later in life, and we don't know if or when she will have them and how severe they will be.
When I'm taking care of her, I'm probably most worried during the night that she's going to go low and I'm not going to catch it. Overall, I'm worried about what her future will be, because I don't know what it's like for somebody to have type 1 diabetes for 70 years. So when she gets to be my age, I just hope she's healthy.
The treatments and the meters are getting so good, so that will continue to get better, and we'll know blood sugar levels and how to treat them faster than we already do now. Remote pancreas is in the works, so that's something that has been tested, and people with diabetes have been able to go weeks or months without even worrying about diabetes. So I think that's next to come down, is the I forget what it's called, sorry, but where you just use a pump and it controls everything. And then of course we always pray and ask for a cure, and hopefully we get a step closer to it every year.
Well, I wish there was a easier way to keep track of the numbers, and I wish they could find a cure, of course. I'm not sure that's realistic soon, but within the next 10 years it could be, and that would be awesome.
Diabetes isn't what you would call a textbook disease. It does its own thing whenever it wants. It's like a bratty child. Blood sugars rise and lower when you're stressed, happy, upset, mad, etc. And something that worked for my numbers today will not work for the next day or even the day after that. Every day is completely different depending on my mood, what I do, what I eat, and what happens.